In the last lectures, we learned a lot about event binding and property binding. Now let's combine both to two-way binding. We learned that we can get the event data like this, for example. There is another approach too, though. If I copy this and then comment it out, and now I replace this input event here with something else, you will find that we have an even easier way of binding to some data. With two-way data binding, we combine property and event binding. We use it therefore by combining the syntaxes, squared brackets, and within these, parentheses. Now here we have to use a special directive, and we will learn more about directives in a second, ng-model. Now we can set this equal to some property defined in our TypeScript code, so to the server name, for example. This setup will do the following. It will trigger on the input event and update the value of server name in our component automatically. On the other hand, since it is two-way binding, it will also update the value of the input element if we change server name somewhere else. And I can demonstrate this by going back to the TypeScript code and setting server name to test server here initially. So before it was an empty string, now it isn't anymore. With this, if we go back to the running application, you see that the input is pre-populated with that. Now if, for demo purposes, I comment in the other input, which does not use two-way binding, you see that this input is empty, because again, it's not using two-way binding. Now if I type something here, you see it updates the property name, and hence it updates it there where we use string interpolation, and in the other input. But if I type here, it's not getting changed in the first input, because again, we're not using two-way binding there. This is what two-way data binding is. A very simple way of binding in both directions and, for example, of reacting to changes in, well, the input value here. So I will comment out the first approach. I will leave the method in here though, even though we're not calling it anymore. But with that, you now also had a look at two-way binding, a nice and easy way of reacting to events in both directions. Now, let's fine-tune our app here a little bit more, and let's then move on to directives, another core feature of Angular.